As I mentioned in my breakdown of Sage Mode, eventually I would do one for the curse mark and its midi iterations throughout the series. Through my research, I actually found out the curse mark gets a lot more intricate and interesting than you get from a surface level watch through of the anime or read through of the manga. Its development, the people who use it and how, and even an argument as to why the curse mark is possibly a stronger use of senjutsu than even the Sage Mode form it was inspired by. All things regarding the curse mark will be covered in this video. I'm going to stick to the manga and databook information on this one, at least on the Naruto side of things, though we do get an interesting arc about the curse mark in the Boruto anime that I want to cover to some extent, so I'm going to include that as well as a ranking of all the curse mark users the same way I did at the tail end of my Sage Mode video. It'll be based on how well they can perform said power and or transformation depending on what you want to call it, and not solely based on who can beat the other person in a fight, as I think not only is that blatantly obvious but pretty boring. One last thing before we get directly into the video: if you're new here or maybe this is your second time watching one of my videos, be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video as it helps the channel out a lot and I really do appreciate it. But let's get started. To talk about the curse mark, first we have to get an example of what it actually is and how it's distinct from Jugo's clan and their Kekkei Genkai. The Kekkei Genkai of Jugo's clan gives them the ability to tap into and control natural energy sources, but in doing so, they sort of lose their sense of self, but in return they get extremely powerful. Jugo himself seems to be able to subside this a little bit after Sasuke sort of tames him, and when he goes into his full curse transformation state, although he is wild and much more powerful, he can direct it at the enemy and know who is and isn't his teammates. This is in direct contrast to the schizophrenic-like state Sasuke and the rest of the team Heavy found him in when they originally went to Orochimaru's hideout he was located at, which is actually a pretty underrated part about how connected Jugo feels to Sasuke and Kimmimaro. Their literal presence is enough to temporarily cure a mental illness as severe as schizophrenia for Jugo. Anyway, to get back on track to the original point, the original curse transformation Kekkei Genkai would cause you to go insane when tapping into the power. Orochimaru took note of this, and according to Kabuto, he then tried to find the source of that power, which originally led him to Ryoshi Cave. Rereading this, I was a bit shocked because I was originally under the belief that Orochimaru found Ryoshi Cave couldn't acquire Sage Mode, so he developed the curse mark, but then after finding this out, I realized that this interpretation never really made sense in the first place. If Orochimaru developed the curse mark to make up for his lack of Sage Mode, it never really made sense to me as to why he never got one himself. It's just another weird misconception put into the Naruto community that just wasn't true in the end. That previous misconception is the entire reason for believing that the curse mark is inferior to Sage Mode, which is an argument that needs a bit more explaining, but now that we've gone over the distinction between it and Jugo's clan's Kekkei Genkai, we can start talking about what the curse mark actually is and how it works. The way you get a curse mark is by having Orochimaru, Danzo, and possibly Kabuto as well giving you one. There is no outright statement or showing of Kabuto being able to give a curse mark to another person. I'm just saying he possesses all of the same things Orochimaru did to give them, as well as knowledge of them. The curse marks are Orochimaru's Senjutsu chakra, which Kabuto has, so he should be able to give one, but again, I don't really know. Curse marks can do different things, which is why I placed Danzo here. Danzo puts a curse mark on the tongue of every member of Root to keep them from speaking about him, likely due to all of the sneaky things he does, like having Sai contact Orochimaru for him, or his secret plan to go after Naruto. The way the mark works is that if any member of the Root is to speak about Danzo, they will start to fall asleep. Danzo also displayed a curse mark in his fight with Sasuke that he placed on Sasuke's neck and eventually left Sasuke in a paralyzed state. This curse mark seems to take a little while to come into effect, considering Sasuke was able to play out a full genjutsu and Danzo could pull off an Izanami and resurrect in between when he placed it and when it actually started to affect Sasuke. I guess that is dependent on whether or not you think it's a timing thing or if Danzo just waited a little while before activating it himself, but considering he was just under a genjutsu when it did activate, I highly doubt he did it himself. Sasuke did eventually overpower this curse mark through evolving his Susanoo, which I guess you could say makes it pretty strong, but literally anyone stronger than Sasuke at this point, whoever you think that is, probably could just flex out of this curse mark, rendering it 100% useless. It's debatable if this last one is a curse mark or not because Obito describes it as a reverse tetragram sealing jutsu, but it kind of resembles a curse mark, so I thought I'd mention it. But it's Danzo's final desperate attack that he uses to unalive himself at the end of his battle with Sasuke. Now, moving on to Orochimaru's curse mark, we have official names for only two of these, that being the Heaven Seal and the Earth Seal. The Earth Seal is the one given to Kimmimaro, and the Heaven Seal is the one given to both Sasuke and Anko. I often hear people say that Sasuke and Kimmimaro are stated to have the best curse marks that Orochimaru can offer, but this is unironically never stated. It's just sort of implied by a statement from Kabuto that goes as follows whenever he's talking to Kimmimaro. He's been granted the rival counterpart to your own Earth curse mark. So we do get that these two are virtually equal since they are rival counterparts of one another, but to find out if these are the strongest, we have to rationalize it in some way. So let's take a look at a few things. 1. Orochimaru knows Sasuke wants power. 2. Orochimaru wants Sasuke's body. 3. Orochimaru wants Sasuke to come to him of his own will, not to kidnap him. Then the conclusion would follow that Orochimaru would give Sasuke the strongest curse mark he can, so that Sasuke can see Orochimaru can give him power and then come to him of his own free will. You can say that he gave one to Kimmimaro, who is a loyal servant of his and his dream vessel through which he can get stronger. I think now would be a good time to correct the mistake I made in reasoning back in my literal very first video, Team 7 versus Team 7, in which I incorrectly stated that Tsutomu Sasuke scaled to a sick Kimmimaro based on a Kabuto statement. The statement would sound weird if I quoted it directly. It'd sound like I'm doing some strange Kabuto roleplay, so I'll just make sure the page is on screen for everyone to read themselves. The part I got wrong is at the tail end of the page here, where Kabuto asks Kimmimaro if he's ever wondered who was stronger between him and Sasuke. I mistakenly took this as Kabuto asking this question to himself and wondering which one of them two is stronger. If we move on from the direct two strongest curse marks into some of the lower ones, the things surrounding them get kind of interesting. The bodies of everyone we see with the curse mark all obviously become grotesque when entering the Ascendant stage or curse mark 2. The features gained don't seem to add any real benefit to your combat ability. In fact, the only person that gains a boost in combat ability directly from his transformation is Sasuke, who gains the ability to fly via his wings. Most of the lower stage curse mark users don't offer anything in terms of uniqueness other than the fact that their curse marks all have different patterns and their CM2 forms all look different. You could maybe argue a difference in terms of quality of an amp, since Jirobo, Sakon, and Yukon all state different qualities in terms of what they actually get from their curse stage 2 form. Jirobo's is the infamous statement of gaining 10 times the strength he was before, but Sakon and Yukon say that they have received 10 times their normal chakra level, which, as everyone should know, 10 times your own chakra amount shouldn't cause a 10 times increase in all your stats, because you need to be able to output 10 times the chakra you do in your base form. So while Sakon and Yukon clearly get much stronger in their curse mark 2 stage, arguing gets as high as Jirobo's amp is nigh impossible with the information given to us in the manga. Just for further elaboration, it's stated Jirobo is the weakest of the Sound 4, so I'm not trying to imply that Jirobo is stronger than Sakon and Yukon, just that he may have a higher quality amp due to getting directly 10 times stronger as opposed to a questionable 10 times. So if we lowball Sakon and Yukon for the sake of the argument and say their curse mark is a 2 times amp to strength and in base they are a 25, so they go up to a 50, Jirobo would have to be somewhere below a 5 in base form, since he's getting 10 times stronger, would have to stay below Sakon or Yukon. That was a fairly long-winded explanation. I probably didn't need to go that in depth, but I want to make sure you all understand me, and like I said earlier, I think this is an interesting part of the lower stage curse mark users. When determining how the Heaven and Earth seal that Kimmimaro and Sasuke possess surpass the other ones, in my opinion, is very simple. I think it should allow both amps to coexist in their curse marks, but possibly to an even higher degree. The need for quantification is non-existent here. We just know these curse marks are going to have a better amp than the other ones. Whether Sasuke and Kimmimaro get 10.1 times stronger and more chakra, or they get 100 times more chakra and stronger, it's all the same in that they get a higher quality amp than the other users. 10 times more chakra would obviously help with things like stamina issues, and the benefit of power is self-explanatory, but a question I really couldn't get an answer to is if the curse mark gives you 10 times the chakra you currently have, or if when activated the curse mark gets you 10 times your normal chakra amount. Regardless, this is obviously a huge help. The last bit of information about the curse mark comes from the Boruto anime, but the Boruto anime's canonicity is heavily questioned most of the time due to the vague statements that imply it, which I won't go into too much detail on, considering it would cause me to spiral wildly off topic. So for the sake of the video, just take it as the Boruto anime is a separate canon to the manga, considering the differences between the two. And to name a few, Sarada vs. Boro has a 3 3-tomo Sharingan in the manga and a 2-tomo Sharingan in the anime. In the manga, Momoshiki never has a taijutsu exchange with both Naruto and Sasuke at the same time, and the fight is a lot shorter. The way Naruto enters Baryon mode is also a lot different, where in the manga he kicks Ishiki off of Boruto in base form, then him and Kurama transform, but in the anime he's trapped underneath Ishiki's cube, punctured by multiple rods, and he flies in to save Boruto whilst he's already in Baryon mode. All this may not even be too important. I mean, after all, the only thing really explained about the curse mark is a hyperbolic statement from the villain of the arc saying that it has infinite power and potential. I don't think I need to explain why this statement is hyperbolic. All of you are extremely smart and I trust you to figure that out on your own. That's kind of all I had to say about the curse mark, so I guess we can get directly into the ranking of different curse mark users. We'll define a better user as actually being stated to have greater skill with the curse mark, or being shown to have little to no negative effects when using it. One last thing I forgot to mention earlier in the video, the curse mark can actually cause you over time to slowly lose your sanity and go insane, but other than that we can get right back on to what I was talking about earlier. We'll include Jugo and Kabuto in this list as honorable mentions, and I'll explain where they will go a bit further into the video. So bottom of the barrel tier is Anko from part 1. As far as we know, she was never even able to use stage 1 of the curse mark, and all it was a burden on her, so when it comes to using the curse mark, she is without a doubt the worst at it. Although I suppose you could say Anko never wanted to rely on the power Orochimaru gave her. That isn't really a fair argument in my own opinion, since Anko still uses her snake techniques which Orochimaru literally taught her, but you know, up to your own interpretation. Next we have all of the grunts at the northern hideout that all succumbed to their curse mark and lost their sense of self. According to nameless character number 3 on the road to the northern hideout, while almost dying, tells Sasuke, Karin, and Suigetsu that once word broke out Orochimaru had died, all of his prisoners went berserk. One of these guys was able to keep their mind intact, but he's swiftly dealt with by Sasuke without even using his Sharingan. We learn when we get to the northern hideout that all the prisoners had killed all the wardens and that they were all in their second state of the curse mark, and their minds had eroded to the point that they could no longer be identified by asking, so Karin has to sense their chakra to see if Jugo is among them. Upon defeat, like the first nameless curse mark user, these people also appear to go back to their base forms, and at least one of them regains the ability to speak and call Sasuke strong. But obviously, since they can't fully control their CM2 form, they are all going at the bottom of the list. If I was going to honorable mention Jugo, his placement would likely be here as weird as it sounds, but don't worry and don't get mad. Jugo is getting 2 honorable mentions. This is the first one since he's unable to use his curse mark up to a certain point without giving into full rage mode, so this honorable mention spot will be quote unquote nice guy Jugo. This Jugo is actually pretty skilled with the curse mark or sage transformation, and the fact that he can do partial transformations may be a solid argument to put him above the people I have next on the list, but the fact that he can't maintain his sanity when going into CM2 makes me feel like CM2 is a harder thing to pull off than a partial transformation. Next on the list we have all of the Sound 4. I attempted to find a bit of disparity between the Sound 4 and their skill with the curse mark, but it seems not only are they all relative in terms of skill with the curse mark, but when they actually activate their second stages as well. The Sound 4 aren't all that strong relative to the higher tiers or even mid tiers in part 1, considering that they had to go all out to beat 2 out of chakra Tokubetsu Jonin, so they should scale virtually below every other Jonin in Konoha, and they're maybe around Chunin level. If we're being realistic, but still extremely strong combatants for Naruto and the rest of Team Shikamaru. The Sound 4 are completely in control of their curse marks, not to the point that they could do partial transformations, but at least to the point that they don't go completely insane. This is likely due to them taking part in the suspended death ritual that they put Sasuke in to help him control his curse mark. Prior to going into the barrel, we see activating his curse mark against the Sound 4 in Konoha, Sasuke is visibly trembling on panel. Next on the list is Sasuke and Kimmimaro. There is a direct statement from Jugo comparing these two in terms of skill with the curse mark, where he says that Sasuke is the best copycat he's seen since Kimmimaro. While this does not inherently mean the two of them are equal in skill, it's the best we get when it comes to comparing them. Outside of this, they have no better statement saying one can control the curse mark better than the other, or any better showings with the curse mark. I was almost tempted to put Kimmimaro a place higher than Sasuke, just due to Kimmimaro likely being stronger than him at full power, but I figured that wouldn't really matter anyway, and I could simply put them right next to each other. You could also get at the idea that that as Kimmimaro's body regresses or as he gets sicker, he gets worse at controlling his curse mark as well. Since he never did a partial curse mark 2 transformation against Gaara and Rock Lee, but then at the same time, you could make the argument that there was never a point in time in which it was useful to do so using it would have just been a waste of time. Above those two is where I would put Angry Man Jugo, who has complete control over himself in CN2. He can do weird chakra cannons with his transformations or make shields out of his skin. He's got all the things Jugo has, but he's just plus more. Then last is where I would put Kabuto, who although he doesn't have a curse mark, is able to utilize them to make himself stronger in the war arc when he uses Anko's curse mark to strengthen his hold on the Edo Tensei Shinobi, as well as him using Jugo's Kekkei Genkai as a way to constantly flood himself with nature energy so that he never exits Sage mode. I think those are valid reasons to maybe put Kabuto number 1 on this list, but I'm leaving him as an honorable mention since he doesn't directly use the curse mark, he just happens to siphon his strength off of the others. But that's it for the video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, as I did put a lot of work into it, so I would appreciate it a lot. Other than that, have a nice day.